team.
Hey there, this is Malorian. This is our tactical team, and today we're going to be talking about a question coming from a viewer. It's from Volton Ignatio, and what his question is: Hey Malorian, I'm going to be doing this Empire MSU style army. Can you talk about redirectors, kind of like the tricks and tips, and also basically like double fleas? What's the whole idea? How do you really make it work the best for you type thing? And I guess the first thing to say is, almost calling it redirectors now is almost kind of incorrect term now, the way that works from how it began. Well, not began, but let's talk about 7th here. Now, in 7th, it was so easy to redirect. Redirecting was, a piece of cake. Basically, what you do is if there's a big unit that you don't want to deal with yet, basically, or you need to hit its flank, is you put a little unit up on the corner so it can't advance without hitting that unit, so they'd have to charge you. You would flee. They have to obviously go after that, and whether they caught you or not, you're now pointing the other direction. Now, the whole point of this, and why you do this, is that, let's say it's a Death Star, or something that you just don't have the resources to deal with yet. So while it's going this way, you're dealing with everything this way, right? So that's the first idea. The second one is, hey, maybe it's a unit that's so strong, you just can't take it head on. You're going to deal with it now, but you just can't take it head on. So you'd redirect it so it would be showing off its flank. You'd flank the damn thing, take it off. And this is why, Death Stars weren't that big of a deal, because you could always just flank the things and take them out. There's no steadfast or anything like that. Well, now with 8th, there's also a big deal because you can redirect your charge. And, if they say, oh, you have a redirector here? Okay, you fled? All right, passed my leadership test. I'm now going straight again. So that's an issue. Also, if they catch you, they get to reform. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, yeah, that Death Star you're trying to redirect? Now it's facing your flank. Good job. So it's something you really have to be careful with things like that. The other thing you have to kind of deal with here too is, I guess, this does apply to 8th now in some cases, because you still have everything with frenzy. It used to be stuff with hatred. They'd have to pursue as well, but hatred still works the same. So if you take those same things from 7th and you apply it to, the witch elves or to savage orcs or something like that, you can still put them on the flank and it works just like before, because even though they can redirect, you can do the whole thing where they're forced to overrun. So that can be a really big deal. So that, like I said, Savage Orc Biggins, you don't want to fight those guys in the front. But if you have it set up with a little bit of a bigger unit, especially because, if it's on the side, they're only clipping, they're not all going to be fighting there, then they'll just kill a few, you'll break, and they're forced to pursue you, and they can flank them on your turn, and it makes it a lot easier. So that's one thing you can make it work. Of course, you also get that with Lizardmen now. If they don't have a skink character close enough, they'll be the same thing. They have to pursue, go off to the side. That huge, Hortosaurus, way easier to deal with once you get something in the flank. So you can make that work. Now, part of the issue here is, you can take always a gamble that, okay, what if I was to flee? And sure, he can redirect, but there's a chance he won't make his leadership. Of course, you'll be doing this more so if it has a lower leadership, especially you get sometimes with the monsters and stuff like that, where they have a rather low leadership. So the odds of them being able to redirect is pretty low. So you can actually just still work it just like before. I flee, you're going to fail your test to redirect something else. Haha, you have to chase me over here, and this big monster is now out of the game type thing. There is that. One of the things you really have to kind of watch out, though, is that when you are lining these things up for the redirect, I've seen it sometimes where people get things that are not really exactly what they wanted. I would say that the first thing that comes for this is the whole idea of not realizing that just because you're in the front of the unit doesn't mean that they're in your flank. And what I mean by that is, let's say my arm is the one unit. This is, again, I wish I had my whiteboard, but I don't. And then your redirecting unit is something here, right? And it's like, haha, if you want to charge me, I'm going to redirect. We're going to go off this way. Haha, this is all great. However, once they hit you, well, if you look at the angles here, they're actually on the flank. And so all of a sudden with this flank, it's like, okay, now it's going to be going over, and it can go over, hit some other unit. Now, you could also be using that to your advantage, right? Because clearly with this redirect in this point here, what you could be saying is, okay, you're going to be hitting this unit, you're basically going to be facing now the side of the board, and you could either overrun or you can just kind of like stand there and reform. So in that case, the whole idea of redirecting, it's more of a speed bump. It's more of the slowing down type thing. Now, the other thing you have to watch for here as well is while you're trying to redirect them out of the way, you could have it so that, maybe the real threat could be something else in the unit. Let's say you're trying to redirect this unit of Minotaurs, and there's that Doom Bull you just don't want to deal with. Well, while you're there trying to redirect the Doom Bull goes, screw you guys, and just charges out of the unit. So you're going to watch for some of the stuff like that too. Now, there is one way where you can make sure that they are going to be redirecting one direction. And what that is a double flee. And what the whole double flee gets its name from is basically the whole idea that you can redirect once. So if you can have two little units on a side there, you can flee and then they'll redirect, there'll be another unit blocking them, and then you can flee again. Now, the troubles with the double flee is that you can't always, because you need two units, it's hard to get them both on one corner. So it's a lot easier to do if, say, it's a single character. I've seen it work well when people take something like, say, like a goblin on a wolf, right? You can very easily run two goblins on a side of a unit on wolves, and they can just take off and they'll be gone. Now, again, you still have to kind of watch the whole idea where they're going to be there and they're going to catch one of the wolves and they'll get the redirect or something like that. So that's still something you really have to watch out for. So that is kind of a big deal. But another thing I've seen too is sometimes you can be using double flees just to do a stall. Now, in this here is a whole idea where the reason why you're trying to basically speed bump them, again, it's not really redirecting, it's more of a speed bump, is the whole idea that you want combat to be happening in your turn. And so, I mean, in one way you could be doing that is you could have if there's your main unit, their main unit, you put something in between, they're going to charge that when overrun, and then that combat's going to be on your side. And then on your turn, you're going to be in charge of the magic in order to get off whatever buffs you need to win that fight. Although, let's say you have something where you want the charge, because maybe you're ogres, maybe you're knights, maybe you're minotaurs, where you get a big bonus to charging. Not the +1 combat res, but something else that's going to be stronger as well. Or maybe you just want to have the option of not charging if they got big buffs in you. Because, even if you have the option, like, haha, I can put up, Flesh to Stone, if they have Mind Razor up, you don't even want to be in that fight. So the nice thing there is when you can have those two units in between. So they got their main unit, you got your main unit, you have those two little things in between there, and when they charge, they'll flee, they'll go over that unit, and then they just can't redirect, and they're standing in front of you, and now you have the option of, how buffed up are they? Do I want to charge in? The whole thing, or do I just want to wait another turn and shoot them up? This can be a big thing for dwarves. I've kind of thought about this where I might just take naked thanes and put them in front of my big units, and then like, okay, double flee, they're going to rally on 9s re-rolled, and then I'll just shoot the guys up again. Of course, there's a slight risk here that if you're running over your own unit, you might be panicking them, so that can be kind of an issue. That's kind of can be more of a minor thing. Also, if you're ever going something that has terror, right? It could be a thing where you're going to be just automatically running. So if your whole idea is that you needed to stand there and not run, all of a sudden you could be running off because of this terror task. So there are leadership issues with doing redirecting and the double flees and all this stuff. And again, too, I mean, normally the whole idea is that something will be cheap enough that it can, who cares if this thing runs away, but it's always good to preserve these points as well, especially when you're talking about, 20-0 or something like this where every point counts. It can be a bit of a risk, and you have to kind of make sure this all fits together so that you're not having units just run off the board because, hey, great for you, you just wanted to kill that 400-point unit, but it cost you two 100-point units to redirect them to get them where you wanted, so you're only 200 points up, so it's not as big as you might have thought type thing, right? So you do have to kind of watch out for those types of things. I did have this one idea where you could just have like a cycling of just double redirects, where basically you have think of my night goblins, right? We have all the night goblins, all the night goblin bosses, and it's all right. You're up there, right? You're ready to charge me. All right, I'll put up 2 night goblins. Flee, flee. They go behind the unit. All right. On my turn, they're going to rally. I'm going to go and put 2 more characters on you, right? On your turn, flee, flee. They go over. Then the guys that rallied last turn went back in. Another 2 guys in front and front, flee, flee. Basically, this takes 6 characters, but the whole idea is you can never charge me because I will just keep on cycling this up, going all the time over and over and over and over again. This is kind of gamey, and you might get kicked in the nuts, but this is kind of like the double flee to the extreme. In some cases, what people will also do to make sure that they're going to get the most from their redirect, to make sure that they're really getting out of the way, is make sure that, if it's just going to be the 1 unit, you don't want to be caught, set up your redirect so that your person fleeing is going through something that's impassable. So if there's a building there, all of a sudden your guys that are fleeing will jump over the building and be safe on the other side, and now there's no way they can catch you. And so now they have to redirect into something else. Or, again, like we said with the double flee, maybe there's 2 things over there, but they're both going to jump over the building, be safe on the other side, and there's no chance they're going to catch you and reform. Again, that's a small little trick, but it's also kind of really situational, like I said again. Hard to get those 2 units on the one flank so they can't redirect to what they want to. There has to be that terrain in place, and so this is just something for the most part where I find that the times where this is going to come up the most, and the main reason why redirecting is going to be helping you in most of your games is really just buying you time. And this is where I said from the very beginning, redirecting isn't redirecting anymore. Redirecting is more just speed bumping. It's going to be something like, okay, that big unit of ogres, I'm going to be putting this thing in your corner there so that you're going to have to charge them and you're going to be going off the wrong way if you want to overrun or chase or whatever, probably overrun. And what you'll probably do instead then is just kill that little unit and reform. And so basically you're saying, hey, I'm going to give you this many points for you just not to move. And during that time, I might be shooting you, I might be focusing on something else. Hey, you know what? You might be using this just to get past the last turn of the game. If it's turn 6 and that Ogre Death Star is staring you in the face, well, you might be doing it so that, okay, I have no more redirect units. Okay, General, BSB, stand in front of that Death Star. All right, flee over a unit, flee over the unit. It's not off the board, so it's not counted as destroyed. All right, I survived that Ogre Death Star, turn 6. Everything is fine. So it's just these things where they kind of use it for the situation. If you want me to get more specific, I'd have to know more details. But that really kind of covers the whole expanse of it there, really. So hope you got a lot from it, and we'll be right back with another one.